Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It's Tuesday Thoughts here on Soccer Down Here. John, hear you there. And it's happy Open Cup Tuesday for those who celebrate. We'll be getting into all of that this morning. And if you looked on social media for the promo, you saw that I said that Andrew Miller is set to join us in hour two. Andrew's in meetings, like real grown-up stuff. So Andrew Miller, the beat writer for the Battery and all things Charleston sports down at the Post and Courier, set to join us in hour two. I'm hoping it's after 10:30. So whenever his meeting is over and he can settle into either an office or a parking space or the sunshine or whatever, we'll get to Andrew to drop in and discuss anything and everything Charleston Battery to get us ready for Open Cup tonight. So, yeah, when his grown-upness ends, hopefully he can join us for about 15 minutes, and we'll go through all of your thoughts and questions having to do with Charleston Battery as Atlanta United gets ready for Charleston Battery. We'll go over all the other matchups that are going on, and they include the opponent on the weekend for Atlanta United. So, interesting dynamics there with lineups and how it's going to look and how many minutes and how it rolls over to Saturday, all those things. So, we'll go over that as we go here this morning. There's a lot of news this morning and having to do with England. See, I can't quite do it like Jason does, but England has named their provisional squad for the Euros. 5 new faces. We'll be getting into that as we go this morning. Anything else on the table that's been left over from yesterday that you didn't get into, or that we were like, oh, yeah, I want to talk about this. Put that in the Twitch pitch as well. So, busy morning across the board. Maddie Cruz on the 1s and 2s should be joining us about 9:30, so she can let us know what happened at practice yesterday with Atlanta United as they then hopped on a plane and hopped over to Charleston to get ready for the matchup tonight. So, morning. Oh, boy, wasting no time. Morning Ropes, morning Dell, yes. So, yeah, we got Dell for propaganda. Yeah, so it'll be an interesting day. So Dell will be the wall that everybody bounces all of their ideas off of when it comes to Charleston. So, morning, Alex. So it'll be all over the place this morning, but we do have some things that we'll be getting into. And so it's Open Cup Tuesday. We'll get into those matchups. Andrew Miller, maybe some other folks if the team isn't practicing, or if they're practicing later, we can get into those discussions as well. But but Maddie should be joining us about 9:30. We'll get her perspective on practice and see how else it lays itself out this morning. All right, opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching. However you're watching us, as I cover up the other QR code from our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps that is laying out right there. So we got to make sure that's covered up, so you can pay attention to the QR code there for our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hit that QR code. You go to Kickoff Coffee, and they in turn will sit there and let you check out if you use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So cover that up real quick. There we go. There it is. Okay. All right. So I wanted to, get into the idea of other teams in Major League Soccer and how your favorite club is not this club. And it is for it's for our friends in New England. And I don't know how, our buddy Shooter is, but maybe somebody should check on him and see how things are, because, when Shooter does drift in, we always know that he is a house of fire when it comes to his New England Revolution. It has not been a good season. It has not been a good season. Ropes with the question, how can we watch Open Cup? You can go to ussoccer.com, and they have all the YouTube links. Our friends at the cup.us on Twitter will post the YouTube links for all the matchups. They do a fantastic public service, and they'll sit there and they'll be like, okay, click here, and it's the YouTube link. Click here in the YouTube link. So the cup.us on Twitter, or go to ussoccer.com, and then they'll give you, like stuff in the margins. You can click on a monitor and you can catch your match however you want to do it. Yeah, because traditionally we'll have like 3 or 4 different matchups going at the same time, as we will work our way through the matchups and sit there and go, okay, well, this one's crazy, and this one's crazy, go here. And you end up going here, and you watch the matchups that way. Okay, so things are fairly dramatic. Let's use that word in New England. And New England has not had a good start to the season. They have not. They are just not good. They're just not. Bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference, 7 points in 12 matches, 2-9-1. They've only scored 9 goals in 12 games. They've given up 25. Last time I checked, that's not a good ratio. By far, the most anemic offense in the Eastern Conference, and not quite as anemic as, say, Houston or Dallas in the Western. Houston and Dallas are a little further away than the other clubs in the East, but by far the worst offense in the Eastern Conference, 12 goals and 13 goals, respectively, for Houston and Dallas. So they're within shouting distance of those offenses in the Western Conference, but by far, Chicago's scored 13, and then it's Orlando with 15 in the East. Charlotte with 14, and then it's Orlando with 15 in the East. 2-9-1, 9 goals scored, 12 matches. It has come out, and it was rather interesting the way that it was laid out yesterday. Tommy Quinlan, who does work in New England in Providence, New England Soccer Weekly, Rhode Island FC Radio play-by-play, he had a bit of an interesting post on the 280-character app. And after the Revs lost to Philadelphia on the weekend, here's what he said. As I sit here and navigate guests and things. First point from Tommy Quinlan, at Tommy Quinlan _IV. And honestly, I don't know if you want to really mess with a guy from the Northeast whose name is Tommy Quinlan. It's just you don't want to mess with a guy named Tommy Quinlan. Team owner Jonathan Kraft was said to be looking for head coach Caleb Porter after the match on Saturday. Porter is said to have avoided meeting with Jonathan. That's not good. So team owner Jonathan Kraft, after the loss to Philly, was said to be looking for Caleb Porter after the match. Porter is said to have avoided meeting with him. Unclear if they met yesterday. Point 2. Players and coaches were said to be arguing with each other in the locker room after the match. Among the players involved were Henry Kessler, Carlos Heel, and Mark Anthony Kaye. Point 3. Porter is said to have multiple confrontations on Saturday. Multiple confrontations. One with Spalding in the locker room after the match, and remember that Spalding picked up the early red card. The other with Nick Lima in the tunnel after the match. According to sources, Lima missed Caleb's handshake while coming off in the 83rd minute. Porter is said to have told Lima in the tunnel, quote, "Don't ever disregard my effing handshake again." And effing was not the word that was used. Lima shouted back it wasn't intentional. This is the second time in 2 weeks that Lima and Porter have gotten into it. NYCFC comes to Foxborough Saturday. To say Carlos is unhappy would be putting it lightly, Quinlan continued. Multiple sources told Quinlan Carlos Gil laid into the group at halftime, was seen complaining about the team's current form to Alejandro Bedoya and Charlie Davies. And this is me working backwards on this. So what you got is you have all of the popcorn going on. So you have Carlos Gil laying into the team, venting to Alejandro Bedoya, and once again, this is from Tommy Quinlan up in New England. Carlos Gil at half lays into the team, allegedly, apparently vents to Alejandro Bedoya and to Charlie Davies. Caleb Porter apparently, allegedly, possibly dodged Jonathan Kraft. Players and coaches said to be arguing after the match. Kessler, Carlos Gil, Mark Anthony Kaye. More on Mark Anthony Kaye in a second. And multiple confrontations on Saturday. Spalding on the red, you would imagine. And then Nick Lima. Don't ever disregard my effing handshake again. Nick Lima saying it's not intentional. Mark Anthony Kaye came out on social media after the Tommy Quinlan thread and basically said the equivalent of get my name out your mentions and out your mouth, because that wasn't the case. So Mark Anthony Kaye is saying one thing, specifically about point number 2 from Tommy Quinlan. And Tommy Quinlan is saying, that players arguing with each other. Caleb Porter mad about not getting his hand shook. Dodging, allegedly, apparently, team owners. I did not anticipate that you would have something like this happening so quickly with a first-year coach. So, So that's what you're apparently, allegedly, possibly, maybe staring at when it comes to what you're seeing with the New England Revolution. Kurt Anolfo could be choosing, according to Quinlan, a 4th head coach before the end of the 2024 season. 4 head coaches, 5 different starting keepers since the end of 2023. So all of that is what possibly is happening involving the New England Revolution right now. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Dell says, makes me want to watch the next New England match. Now, NYCFC's been on a bit of a roll. So you've got a team that is on a bit of a streak and on a bit of a run. But New England right now at 2-9-1 in a first-year head coach. And so, of course, Alex is saying that Carlos Gil should just come to Atlanta this summer if we sell Thiago Almada. Everybody wins. But remember all the stuff that we were discussing involving New England and how they were looking to make sure that everything was going to be different. It was going to be different. Everything was behind them. Just ask Kurt Anolfo.
I appreciate it. Appreciate the time, guys. Brian, just to start with you, you said about 20 minutes ago, quote, as everyone can imagine, this is a difficult time for Richie. What do you mean when you say this is a difficult time for Richie? And to Kurt, do you feel when this all passes, you would like to tell your side of the story here?
In terms of Richie, there's just been a lot written about Richie. And so, when you're being talked about publicly, that's always a difficult situation, for people who are in this building. They're in this sport because they love the sport. They love being around the guys. They love coaching. They love the fans. They love doing just what their job is. And when they have to answer questions or be in the media or being talked about for other reasons, I think that's just always stressful and difficult for anyone. And so, I think that's really what I'm talking about when I say it's been a difficult time for Richie.
And to answer your question, I was asked, first of all, I didn't ask to be in this position. I was put in this position. And I embrace it. The Crafts and Brian have asked me to lead this organization through a very, very difficult time. And I have enormous experience. I'm extremely confident. I love the people in this building. I love the owners. I love our staff. And my side of the story is to make a very difficult situation into a great one. And we have that opportunity. So that's what we're thriving on, is can we, through all this noise and the stuff that none of us asked for this, but to drive forward and to make something out of it. And that's the message that we're telling our players. And they are an incredible group of human beings. And I just tell you, watch out, because they are united, as we are as a staff and an organization, and from ownership all the way through. And it's time to get out there and play and stop talking about all the baloney. It is noise, right? We're going to focus on winning.
Stop talking about all the baloney. We're going to focus on winning. How's that working for you? 2-9-1. Coaches apparently, allegedly dodging owners. Folks mad that handshakes were dodged. Yikes. So that's what's currently going on. That's what's currently going on in New England. So there's that. There's all of that. And so, like you said, for whatever your favorite team is and whatever your favorite division, whatever your favorite location, you could be New England. That's Opening Kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, I've got to find the QR code and put my hands up in the corner right there. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching, whether it is on the 280-character app, whether it is on the YouTubes, or whether it is on Twitch. Thanks for doing so every single morning, as you guys do. Use that QR code, click in, get your day kicked off with our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So there you go. Gareth Southgate has mentioned his squad for the Euros. Southgate asked if England can win Euro 2024. Quote, "I'd be an idiot if I said no, and equally if I say yes. Doesn't mean there's not a hell of a lot of work ahead of us. The team have been very close already. They know what's possible." So Gareth Southgate doing the appropriate dodge when it comes to answering the question. Southgate confirms he didn't speak to Ben White before picking his squad. Quote, "No, as far as I'm aware, he isn't available to us." And so Gareth Southgate is having his explainer press conference as we go here this morning. And Cole Palmer made the provisional squad. On Marcus Rashford, quote, "Since Rashford was omitted, I just feel other players in that area of the pitch have had better seasons." Fair assessment given by some. Southgate on Jordan Henderson's omission. Quote, "The determining factor was the injury he picked up in the last camp. He's missed 5 weeks and hasn't been able to get to the intensity required since then. He's a fantastic professional." End quote. So England's provisional squad. 4 players from Crystal Palace, by the way. Cole Palmer, Ivan Toney, Anthony Gordon, all included. Kobe Mainu, one of 6 listed midfielders. No Rashford, no Henderson, no Levi Caldwell. Your keepers, Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, Aaron Ramsdale, James Trafford. Defenders, Branthwaite, Dunk, Joe Gomez, Gahey, Konsa, Maguire, Kwanzaa, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, and Kyle Walker. How Gareth Southgate will use John Stones and Kyle Walker will be interesting. Do they end up being stay-at-home defenders? Or do they get to do what they do at City? Midfielders, there's only 6. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Conor Gallagher, Curtis Jones, Kobe Mainu, Declan Rice, Adam Wharton. Forwards, Bellingham, Bowen, Eze, Foden, Grealish, Gordon, Kane, Madison, Palmer, Saka, Tony, and Ollie Watkins. That's pretty stout up front. Having only 6 midfielders kind of worries me a little bit if you are a fan of that particular squad. So, yeah, Rashford out, Kobe Mainu in. Very, very interesting. An ish load of forwards for Southgate and for England as their squad has been named. A couple of other surprises this morning. Tony Kroos has decided to retire. And that was something that was not anticipated. Season's end, he's done. So it was kind of a shocker this morning when that came across the bow. And it will be intriguing. It's like, that one was not anticipated. Definitely not anticipated. I know folks are shocked with the idea of certain omissions, and now Phil Foden may have to play a midfield role, more of a central midfield role. Sam Kerr ruled out of the Olympics due to an injury. That was kind of anticipated, but the news when the roster was announced yesterday, it's like, okay, not a surprise. Brighton is looking to push a deal for Kieran McKenna, the manager at Ipswich. And I think that would be a massive blow for Ipswich, considering that McKenna knew what he was getting into when they were promoted from League One to the Championship. And now that they've been promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, he understood what it was like to be in those conditions. But he does fit what Brighton wants to do financially when it comes to bringing in a manager and having financial constraints. So having McKenna as a part of that, that's not necessarily a surprise. Mauricio Pochettino, unsure of his future. His phone's going to be on, but he doesn't know what his future is going to be because he has concerns about the transfer policy. He wants more of a say in the transfer policy and doesn't know if he's going to get it. There's a sticking point apparently involving Conor Gallagher. He wants to keep him, and for sustainability rules, he may need to be sold. So that would be a point of contention between Pochettino and the front office. Looks like Ross Barkley is a transfer target for Aston Villa from Luton Town. Luton Town, by the way, you do as best as you can. Do as best as you can. Southgate, apparently, according to The Guardian, is going to give his defensive injury doubts the opportunity to prove their fitness when he names that squad. Avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper as we always do. Villa willing to sell Diego Carlos despite getting a $50 million £50 million windfall for qualifying for Champions League. Mo Salah delivered the clearest hint he'll be a Liverpool player next season. Plans to do everything possible to land a trophy for the Reds. Liverpool have come out of nowhere to join the race to sign Benfica midfielder Orkun Koshko. Rival fans will be guided to Wembley via separate routes again as a part of the security operation to prevent trouble flaring at the All-Manchester FA Cup final. Arsenal will back Mikel Arteta in the transfer market, according to The Independent, as he wants to get a squad capable of knocking off City. VAR officials set to be told, according to the Times, to intervene in the Premier League matches only when a referee is clearly wrong next season, among a number of changes intended to speed up the system. So that is the rundown of what's going on. with all of that. And so intriguing nonetheless with everything that we've seen. So Kroos is going to retire after the Euros. Yes, Del, the semantics. Yes, he's playing in the Euros, but he's going to retire after that. Also, let's see what's on the board this morning. We can get into Open Cup a little bit. We'll see what the juice boxes and all the matchups are when it comes to Open Cup today, and it presents interesting questions for the weekend, considering what we have going on in the tournament, because once again, you're in schedule compression if you're one of those MLS sides. 5 matches today, 3 tomorrow, and it will be interesting and intriguing as always to see how it all lays out for teams on the weekend. Just naturally inquisitive, I guess, is probably the best way to phrase it for me. Looking at the schedule, we know what's going to be happening with Atlanta and Charleston. So go to ussoccer.com. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Each league that has a team that's involved in a match will sit there and say, hey, go to our league website. So I would say one of two things. ussoccer.com, you can click on a YouTube link and you're there. Or cup.us on Twitter. They have all the YouTube links. And like I said, they do the favorite divine beings work, and they just lay it all out for you, and you can click on one and go from one to the other. Charleston and Atlanta, 6 o'clock tonight, is the pregame show on 92.9 The Game. Mike and Jason are in Charleston. Or I know Jason is. I think Mike might be chasing it. But Jason is there, and I think Jason's going to be joining us in hour number 2 as well before Andrew does. And we'll get Jason's thoughts on a lot of things. We'll get his thoughts on the U.S. soccer roster, what happened this past weekend in Nashville, schedule compression, the injury situation, and getting ready for Charleston tonight. How young will the lineup be? How much of a twos influence will you have dealing with schedule compression and leaning into LAFC? So Battery and United, 7 o'clock tonight. And right now, slight favorite in the juice box is Charleston at a plus 141. Atlanta's at a plus 152. 90-minute draws a plus 267. On the parking deck, Belston Stadium in Queens, New York. NYCFC 2 gets to host New Mexico United. Emilio knows all about this parking structure. Soccer field, football stadium on top of a parking structure on the campus of St. John's University. NYCFC 2 beat Colorado Springs last time out. Can they beat New Mexico United this time out? They're a big underdog. No real surprise. They're at a plus 254. Your draw is about the same. New Mexico United on the road is a minus 106. 8:30. It is Sporting and FC Tulsa from Children's Mercy Park. Sporting a big favorite, no real surprise. Minus 323. 90-minute draw is a plus 415, and FC Tulsa is a plus 673. Out west late. Sacramento hosting San Jose. Sacramento is favored, as they should be. Sacramento Republic started off the season in USL Championship with they have an unbeaten run of 10. Plus 136 at home, plus 238 on the 90-minute draw, plus 174 for San Jose. And then LAFC and Loudoun. This is what I said. Keep an eye on this one tonight and see what this lineup is, because that leans into the matchup this weekend in Atlanta against Atlanta United. LAFC, big favorite, a minus 714. Loudoun is north of plus 1275 to win. Your draw is a plus 632. Those are the 5 matchups today. There are 3 tomorrow. Early numbers, and we'll look at these again tomorrow. Indy 11 hosting Detroit City at the Mike in Indianapolis. Tampa's hosting FC Dallas at Al Lang. Seattle's hosting Phoenix at Starfire. Interesting locations, because it's still, deeper in the run. If Seattle continues to go, then things may gravitate toward Lumen Field, but right now it's always going to be Starfire. Very, very intimate, very, very, very loud. Indy 11 favored tomorrow. Tampa Bay and FC Dallas. Juice Boxers threw a blanket over both. Same number in the composite, plus 144 for either side. Seattle, obviously, a big minus side right now at a minus 303 in the composite. But right now, Charleston slight favorite for 90 minutes. New Mexico United favorite on the road at NYCFC 2. Sporting a big favorite at home against FC Tulsa. Sacramento favored at home against San Jose, and LAFC, no surprise, big favorite against Loudoun United at a minus 714. So those are your juice boxes. Remember, by the way, tonight, according to our friend Phil Collins, 6 o'clock pregame on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. And it will be Abe and Garrett getting you into the match at Patriots Point. Dell is saying it is a beautiful day there in Charleston. I give it till about 5:30, and you'll get your afternoon shower just because. So Mike and Jason will have the call. 6 o'clock pregame, 7 o'clock kick, so like 7:03. And then after the match will be the full-time report to get you ready for everything. And now that I've mentioned this, it is time. It is time to bring back in Maddie Cruz and the ones and twos. You've been busy.
Yeah, I don't even know how I'm functioning right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Called caffeine.
Literally, I poured myself a cup of coffee, and that I'm sipping on that right now. So.
Mm-hmm. And for those that have not had the chance, and for those that have been keeping a listen to the show this morning and have not had the chance, there is an Open Cup promo on the network, on our social media platforms, and somebody that you, meaning the collective and the singular, know intimately is responsible for making that promo. How long did it take you to piece this one together?
Oh, okay. That one actually wasn't as horrible as some of the other ones, because I went into training yesterday knowing what I wanted to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of just took that and I was like, okay, I know which ones I want to use. So it was easier to clip it. I want to say it took like an hour and a half, but compared to some of the other things I've done, that is one of the quickest ones.
Okay. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know, the way that it normally lays itself out, the way that I'll piece it together, it's for however long it is in minutes is how long it will take you in hours. So if it's a minute and a half package, it'll take you an hour and a half to piece together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that as a guidepost. So Maddie has cut the promo, the unofficial official promo for keeping an eye on Charleston and Atlanta United tonight. 6 o'clock pregame with Abe and Garrett. Mike and Jason working their way into the discussion, 7:03 kick-ish, and then full-time report after. You and Jason were at practice yesterday before the team and Jason and folks hopped a flight to get to Charleston. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a lot of younger players, I think, stepping up into this roster. With kind of like what we saw, especially in the last match against Charlotte Independent. I think you're going to see that as well. You're going to see a lot of young players stepping up, especially with how much the roster has played. You know, you had 2 matches last week against Cincinnati, Nashville, and then coming immediate turnaround, you're coming in playing Tuesday. Mm-hmm. I would assume you're going to see still a balance of like first team players. I just don't think we might see a lot of first team players starting. They might be on the bench hanging out, but you're going to see a couple of familiar faces.
You're going to see some youngins, basically, is what you're saying?
Absolutely. You'll see some youngins. We saw Ashton Gordon out there doing his thing.
Okay.
So I would assume he would have a part to play in that area. He's just fun to watch, though. I mean, when he came on in the Open Cup for Charlotte Independence, he was absolutely like running all over the place. I mean, so I think that's going to be important, especially going into a Charleston Battery side that is currently undefeated and is sitting at the top of the board right now.
Yep, and we'll have hopefully Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier joining us after 10:30. We might have someone else joining us from Charleston in hour number 2. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How'd you do? Guess twice, and neither guess counts. You look at who will not be there, and obviously we can have this discussion as well. There will be no Tiago. There will be no Gigi. There will be no Noah Cobb, and you were in Nashville for that. We got to see just a nasty injury, and I still have to go back and look and see what was up with Noah. No Derek Williams as a part of the discussion either. So the back line, once again, will be interesting leading into this matchup against Charleston.
So I will say, looking at Noah's injury, looking back at it, it is an ankle. It looks like he rolled it a little bit when he came down on that challenge. We're not exactly sure what the timeline or anything like that looks like, just because of how quick the turnaround is.
Right.
But on good news, Derek Williams was training with the first team yesterday, and he did a lot of the beginning stuff, worked with the team, and then afterwards he kind of went off a little bit and did some like practice stuff on his own. But him integrating back into the first team, I think, is a really, really, really good sign, especially if you're looking ahead to maybe Saturday.
Yes.
It's possible we could see him maybe hop into that to not the starting 11, but maybe in the 18-man roster that you might have. But if that's the case, that's still going to be absolutely phenomenal to have.
Yep. So the full list: no Tiago, no Gigi, no Derek, no Noah, and then obviously Tyler Wolf still in rehab with the knee injury for another couple of weeks, and then the body will determine for Tyler his full return and getting back to full song. So, like I said, we'll be getting our education on Charleston coming up in hour 2 with our friend from the Post and Courier once he gets out of grown-up meetings, and we'll have that discussion. Dell is asking about Gregerson, and we can ask Jason this as well. So we'll be getting your point of view plus Jason's. And there, I just went ahead and spoiled the surprise. I think Jason's set to join us in the 10 o'clock half hour.
Oh, nice.
So he's going to give us the lay of the land down there. But don't know. Dell, it's going to depend on how he is, how he's responding and getting back to full song. And the whole idea, once again, of LAFC on the weekend, who is also playing tonight in Open Cup at home against Loudoun. All of this is playing into this jigsaw puzzle that you're trying to fit together with all these pieces.
Yeah, and, with the way Stian played against Nashville, he didn't play a full 90, but he did play a good, I want to say, math is hard. Hold on.
Exactly.
Give me a second.
I was going to say, let's see who gets there first.
Maybe like 70?
Okay, so hang on. Let's see if we can.
If I'm correct, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, I think you should salute the screen and enjoy your cup of coffee.
I will.
All right, so lineups. This is what happens when you're clicking here and trying to figure things out. So lineups, Stian started, and then let's see, Jamal came in at the half. Luis Abram, so he went 64. So okay. 64 and 26, and Luis punched a 6.6 in the time that he was in. So
and with that being said, I would assume you would maybe have. I could see Elise. Why? I just had a brain fart. Luis Abram. I could see him possibly getting the start tonight in that center back position with Efrain Morales. Because he didn't play a full 90. He's still revved up, ready to go. I could see Abram taking in and stepping into that backline role. You also have Edwards. And it's likely that he could come up and maybe do something there, because we saw him training with the first team yesterday, doing stuff there. But it's you have those interchangeable pieces that can happen. Like who can go where? You have players that can play multiple different positions. And that's, I think, a great thing about having Edwards there, is Edwards can kind of do everything.
Yeah, and so we'll keep an eye on all of that. Have not had you on since Nashville, and we will obviously we'll get Jason's thoughts on it as well. But with what happened in Nashville, didn't have you on yesterday. What, now that you've had a little bit more than the weekend to kind of sit on it, what have been your thoughts about what happened up in Nashville with Atlanta United?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, echoing kind of what Hernandez and what Pineda said yesterday about the match. I mean, it sucks to go down the rabbit hole, especially with that PK. Listen, I have a feeling you guys already had a full-blown discussion about it.
Oh, boy, did we.
I'll say my piece, and I'll say this now. I don't think it's a PK.
Oh, no.
I really don't. If you rewatch back everything, Guzan went up to make a clean challenge. Like, what is Guzan supposed to do there? Like, he went up to make the play. He went up there, got it, and Mukhtar just dived. Like, literally, like, if he was a diver in like college swimming, he dove. So I don't think it's a PK, but again, what's happened has happened. It's a judgment call, everything like that.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think the battle back in the second half was really good. I think Sleesh getting that goal is really important
Get him
because
off the schneid, no doubt.
exactly. I think that's really important for him as a player, and I think that's going to give some fire. But I really like the way the team battled back from that, because I normally you see the team, at least in recent games, where like they go down a goal and it's almost like a sigh, and then it's harder to come back from it. I thought at least the fight and the confidence there in the second half to come back and get the tie was really good, and that's something that I don't think we've seen, and I think that's important to have, is that energy and that momentum. And I felt like it looked really good against Nashville. That was one of the positives I took away. It felt really like there was a lot of fight. There was confidence. Like it was, I really liked the way that we saw that against Nashville.
All right. So then let me go to the flip side. What do you think about Nashville?
Nashville's a weird one. Always a weird one, because sometimes they'll have really good hot streaks and then they kind of fall off. I wasn't uberly impressed with them. Schaffelberg was one that really stood out to me, though. I thought he's a great player. Mm-hmm. He is an absolute beast.
He's a pain in the you-know-what.
Exactly. And I think that's important to have. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be one to watch for Nashville going forward. He might be someone I add to my MLS fantasy league team after seeing him on Saturday. No one steal my idea.
Okay.
Don't care. I'll be able to see it if you do.
Exactly. Especially if you're going head-to-head against you in competition.
Anyway, but I was really impressed with him. But I mean, other than just some bright moments, other than the PK, I mean, you had some other moments, and I think being at home is a huge help. But it's so hard to balance. I think Nashville had some really bright spots, but I think it's a struggle. Obviously, you have an interim coach, and you're kind of still in the balance of that. But I mean, I think even with the interim coach, Nashville played pretty well.
Hour number 2 set to have Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier joining us after 10:30, and some guy named Jason hopefully joining us after.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't.
Yeah, and so the lobbing from the back row with the water balloons has already started. I don't know if you saw this, but Dell was wondering whether or not you got the graduation present from the Birmingham Legion folks.
Dell, listen. I know that we're going up against Charleston Battery tonight. I know that. You really got to add fuel to the fire right now?
Oh, boy. Yeah.
We drove through Birmingham from Huntsville to get back.
Okay, so that's how you didn't go like up to Chattanooga and down. You went down through Birmingham. Okay.
Yeah, because in Huntsville, like we went down because it was easier because we had to go back to the airport. Mm-hmm. But we drove through, and I made the joke. I was like, listen, Jay Heaps is right there. Mm-hmm. We can just have a little conversation, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little bit of talk.
This is my other calling card, Jay Heaps. If you're listening,
the white whale for Maddie in her Captain Ahab.
If you're listening, I just want to talk. I just want to know where it is. If it's lost in transit, that's okay. But I just want to know where it is.
It's like, yo,
come on,
yo, fam, where it at?
Exactly. I just want it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's fine.
And I think that they have also introduced another jersey since then that's actually probably worthy of being picked up and or worn as well. So yeah, Birmingham Legion is, I think, 2 to the bad when it comes to Maddie and her wardrobe.
Listen, there's 2 of them. I don't even care which one at this point. I was promised the jersey. I'll find the timestamp in the Birmingham.
There's no need to find the timestamp because the show still exists in the archive.
Exactly.
That's an easy one.
So I'll find it. Don't worry. I'll post it. I'll be like, hey, Jay Heaps.
Yo.
Remember this?
Yeah. Yo. And point to it.
Let me know. Let's just talk.
All right. So Dell wants to know what you thought of Geodis.
I really liked it. I really loved the park. I liked it. I'm trying to like get my words together. I actually really enjoyed the park. I thought it was really, really nice. Where it's located, like I initially thought that it was going to be like right in Nashville, but it's like, it's a little bit outside, which is nice. So like, you're not really dealing with like the craziness of Nashville.
Yeah. But then you end up with the craziness of traffic instead.
Exactly. Then you deal with the craziness of traffic. But I think inside the stadium, like once you get in, it's a really nice facility. I really loved it. I mean, what they did up there with like the soccer specific stadium, I think it looks really nice. It's clean. it's so nice. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a good field to watch it from, everything like that. I really liked it.
Did you pay $22 for a sandwich?
I did not get food. They had food for us in the press box, so I ate some food there.
Okay. Since we didn't get the chance to ask in person, even though it was on the post game show,
Ooh.
after the game in Nashville, and I'll get Jason's thoughts about this too, is the matchup with the Twos. Well, first off, getting from Nashville to Huntsville so you can prepare for the matchup against with the Twos.
Listen, we got there with 45 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
So pretty great stuff. The Twos match, huh?
Uh-huh.
That was the most insane game I've seen this year.
Welcome to Huntsville and welcome to Huntsville and Atlanta United 2. Hunt City Atlanta United 2 is just a straight up batch of crazy.
Yeah, and also huge credit to Huntsville. I believe there was like 4,800. Yeah, there was a good amount of fans there for that matchup. It was a lot of fun. The energy was great. That match was absolutely crazy. But I personally, me and Jason talked about this afterwards, and even in the post game, I thought this is the best that the Twos have looked this season.
Mm-hmm.
There was just Javier Armas was running all over the pitch. I mean, oh my goodness. He was at one end of the pitch to then the other end of the pitch. He was playing center back for sometimes. He was pushing forward. He made a goal from like a rocket. I was like, oh my goodness. Javier Armas played absolutely outstanding, and getting to hear from Hibbert and Hadley kind of about his leadership. That's been really great to hear him really stepping up into that leader role and to be that focal point where players can turn to.
Yeah.
We also got to see a lot of the academy kids step up. We talked Miles Hadley stepping up huge for them to get the second goal. I mean, he played outstanding. There was Jaden Hibbert.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the saves he was able to pull off. I don't know what that was. Oh my goodness. There was one save he made that I literally turned to Jason and I was like, my mouth, like, I didn't speak. I was like, how did he stop that? I don't know how he did it. I don't know how. He's on another level. Listen, I'm not going to ask questions. I have no idea.
Just take the points and run is what you're saying.
Exactly. But I will say the battle back from Huntsville is great. We got to kind of talk a little bit to some of their staff over there, and they played a lot of academy kids in that matchup because a couple of their players were out either due to some injuries or also to, I believe, Ollie Wright, who we got the chance to talk to at Blastoff Battle. He had a red card in the last match, so he was not able to play. But I mean, the Huntsville matchup was a fun one, and I'm really excited when the Twos go back there again at the end of July, because I feel like that matchup is always one that's going to be one to circle, because it's just so it's the rivalry match. Obviously, you have that, but just the talent and the quality you have on both sides. Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun. And we were also like outside. We weren't in the press box.
I was going to say, because from the pictures that you took, it looked like you were closer to home plate, like where we were for Blastoff Battle was inside the press box in and of itself, but they had you outside the press box past the elevator closer to home plate at the top level. Is that right? Yeah.
So basically there wasn't enough space for us to like really slot in there, but they had us like right next to it, like kind of in, if you're like looking at it, there's like a little like incove type thing. Mm-hmm. We were right in there. But it was honestly really nice getting to be out there. The weather was nice. We got to see everything, hear everything. I think some of the Huntsville fans got really confused when Jason would do a goal call for the Twos and they'd look back and be like, what are you doing? Like they were definitely a little mad, but but it was so fun. It was a great time. I'm excited to see how this matchup turns out later on down the line in July when we play them again. That one's going to be, they're going to come back for a vengeance, and we got to be ready.
Yep. 7 of 8 to start things off at home, and then 7 of 9 on the road. Next matchup is Saturday at Chattanooga FC at Fort Finley. That one is a 7:00 kick. So that's so it's going to be simultaneous action, but the Twos will get a half-hour head start with Chattanooga FC at 7:00, Atlanta United kicking off against LAFC at 7:40. So 37-minute head start for the twos this weekend up at Fort Finley. So we'll see what happens there. I am keeping Dell's notification up on purpose because Dell, once again, from the Charleston battery, getting the battery information, and then the same is there for Atlanta United as well. Atlanta United has put out a piece of information on the media that is social, having to do with where you can click and watch the match. But since Dell has posted it first, I will go ahead in our timeline. I will go ahead and keep this up for the time being so everyone can write this down, take notes, or go to ussoccer.com and click on it there, or go on to Atlanta United Twitter and click on it there. But yes, Dell has done the work, and he has done the cut and paste, and he's letting everybody know where you can watch on the Bitleys when it comes to Atlanta United and Charleston on the night when it comes to 5 of the 8 teams, or 5 of the 8 matchups, getting closer to the round of 8. And this one, depending on who wins in Open Cup, I mean, this could be another, if Atlanta United works its way out of this matchup tonight, it could be another set where, if NYCFC 2 gets another upset there at the parking deck at St. John's, it could be against them. You could end up with perhaps Indy 11, Detroit, Tampa, FC Dallas. The possibilities are there for Atlanta United to make a run in Open Cup, although I know that the focus is on the regular season in Major League Soccer. But the opportunity could be there if things fall a certain way.
Absolutely, for sure. And also, too, if you want live tweets as well, I will be on Soccer Down Here. I'll be on Soccer Down Here.
You'll be the live tweeter this evening.
I'll be the live tweeter. I'll try to keep up with some matches that are happening simultaneously. I know we're the first match, so we're by a good 30, 45 minutes. So I think we'll be one of the first ones to be done. But throughout the night, if there's anything special going on with some Open Cup, you'll get some live tweets from me. But if you want to listen to me talk some stuff about the Open Cup match, you can turn on notifications and, listen to me ramble about soccer.
Nothing wrong with that. One of the other things that I wanted to ask you is it's almost like the recurring question. Has it still sunk in that you are a college graduate and survived your internship at SDH?
Oh, I mean, yes and no, because I wasn't really on campus a lot last semester, except for doing games.
You were kind of busy, yeah.
Except doing games for KSU, and then going on occasionally to maybe go talk to Sanders or Brandon or Nolan a little bit about the broadcast. Besides that, I really kind of was just all over the place. But I will say yesterday I had to go pick up a polo for my brother up at the bookstore, and going back onto campus, that was surreal. That was weird. I'm not going to lie to you. So it's coming in waves for me, but hey, we survived the internship. We're here. We're now a contributor. We always have been a contributor, but now it's not just an internship. Now it's
you're full-blown contributor status now.
Full-blown contributor, wear many hats. We do all the things. But yeah, no, it's weird. A lot of my friends are still I still don't know what to do. And I'm just I feel like I'm doing the same stuff I've been doing, except it's just not an internship anymore. But yeah, it's just it's very strange, very interesting.
And so, of course, Abby, who's in this morning, she wants to know. So, what are you doing for an upcoming job with income? What are you doing?
Well, doing right now just a lot of freelancing. That's going to be the biggest thing. We got a couple things lined up, especially with Georgia Impact. I'll be doing a lot of those games. So leading up for that, that's going to be a lot of fun. I have 2 other jobs back up in Swanee. I was a kickboxing instructor, and I might be going back and doing some shifts over there.
Wait, what?
You didn't know this?
No.
Yeah, I was a kickboxing instructor for 2 years back in 2021.
I was not aware of this.
Yeah, it's a company called 30-Minute Hit. It's up in Swanee. It's an all women's gym, and it's a kickbox / 30-minute hit workout. It's a combination. But yeah, so I was a kickboxing instructor for that for a little bit, and they texted me yesterday and they were like, "Hey, in your open schedule, do you think you can come back and do some shifts for us?" And I was like, "Let me look at my schedule and I'll let you know." But So I might be doing that, and then I have some other jobs, like some part-time stuff lined up, and then we're just scouting. We're scouting around, having a fun time.
Yeah, it's all about piecing it all together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So that's the fun part. It's like you're trying to piece together your existence, and you live and die by your calendar, basically, is how it is.
Yeah, I keep like staring at my calendar because it's right next to me right now, and I haven't really filled it out yet. And I just know that once I do, it's going to not look pretty at all.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like you sit there and your calendar is barren at the moment, but the second you start filling things in, that's when people are going to start calling and calling and calling and wondering whether or not, okay, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? So the second you start putting those first elements in, then it'll end up being done that way. Like that, you get that first call, that first opportunity, then everybody else wants to jump in, and you have to sit there and you've got to juggle and gauge. Okay, what can I do and what can I not do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because like a lot of I will be color coding it. That is for sure. I trust me. My OCD brain, color coding will be happening for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's funny too talking to some of my friends who are like trying to find some jobs in the sports management side of things. They were talking, they were like, I just like don't know if I want to like travel or not right now. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, that's valid. I honestly don't know yet. I would love to stay in Atlanta. I think for right now, I'm okay being in Atlanta for a little bit. I want to be here for a little bit because, hey, it's Atlanta.
It's only the center of the soccer universe.
Yeah, and no, it's only like I mean, the epicenter of soccer here in the U.S. But hey, just saying. But just saying. Love Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta. We ready?
Yes, where the players play.
Where the players play.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I did not know this kickboxing thing of yours.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I did it really consistently for like 2 years, like because it was still like the weird aspect of like COVID was still happening, and so college was still kind of like up in the air. Like I had an apartment and everything, but it was still like I was doing all my classes online. I was, not doing a lot there, so it was fun to get to do, and I still do it occasionally. Like if there's like a job or like if they need me to fill in and they're like, hey, are you available? I'm like, yes. And so then I go up, I'll do a little 4-hour shift for them. And then it's great. It's also great because I get my workout in too. So
4 hours of kickboxing sounds painful.
Well, as a trainer, like I mainly help coach our everyone else. So like when they come in, I like kind of just run around. It's a lot of running though. Like I have to I don't sit still. Like I'm just up and going, punching things, coming back, teaching, doing all the fun things.
Up and going, punching things.
Absolutely. That's what you got to do. I will say I did one time. I tracked my my movements on my watch, and that was I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think my heart rate got to like 130, 145. Like
look at this.
Oh, I know. Look.
What's up?
Oh my gosh.
He's
I
gone.
I get to flex like every once in a while, so I take it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, are you on top of a particular location, or are you outside?
No, on the side.
Okay. Didn't know if you were like
on a boat.
No, or on a rooftop where you're getting to kind of look over everything.
No. Just
that'd be cool if you were on
a park bench. It's nice.
Okay. We got like 98 different topics to get into here this morning, so I guess we'll start back at the absolute beginning. Now that you've had an extra day to think about it, Nashville and Atlanta. Nashville to me just looks bad.
Yeah, I mean they're not a good team. They're a good defensive team though, and that's something that they have been able to maintain over this poor stretch right now. They're not an easy team to break down. It's just how Gary Smith built that team. So even when they're not good, they can always lean back into that. And I think that's what they did a little bit against Atlanta. They just wanted to get out of there without losing. And I mean, you go back to Nashville and their issues, that's really it, right? They are very good at not losing, but they're not very good at winning. And that's why they made the change that they did. On the Atlanta side in that game, I mean, look, you're missing your best two attacking players. And it showed. It 100% showed. You didn't create enough. You weren't good enough in the final third, but you found a way to get something out of the game, even with a penalty that is debatable. I mean, look, we can all argue it, and everybody's got their opinions, and I really hate how we get into this when we're talking about a judgment call, how it is 100% right or 100% wrong, and if you think the other way, then you're dumb. And that's what too much of the national media is doing about this. And it's funny how they always seem to do that when it comes to an Atlanta situation, right?
Yeah.
Look, nobody's dumb. This is a judgment call that plenty of people have seen both ways. I don't like the penalty because I feel like Mukhtar is not playing. He's playing for the penalty. That's what I don't like about it. This is something that I think has been a pretty universal conversation about the game is we want to get away from those kinds of penalties. We don't want those kinds of plays to determine games. Penalties happen, contact or even the threat of contact, it happens all over the field. My opinion about that call is if it's not a goalkeeper who makes a challenge in the way that Brad Kazan does, in the middle of the field, goes in and the player dives in the way that Mukhtar does, looking for contact, jumping into the player, leaving the leg down a little bit, getting that little bit of contact, but touching the ball 3-4 yards wide of where they were going. I don't think you get that call in the middle of the field. And this is the kind of penalty that I think we used to see a lot, and we're not seeing as much now. So it's a judgment call. You can justify the call. I don't like the call. But please, when we talk about these judgment calls, there are referee decisions that are right or wrong, period. We all know that. But when we start talking about these judgment calls, can we stop with the you're dumb, you're stupid, read the rules? Like, stop it. Just stop it. It wastes everybody's time. It's the hardest thing about refereeing. I don't love the call at all. But the referee's not stupid, and anybody who thinks that it is a penalty is not stupid. I don't like the call because I feel like he's looking for it. We need to have that conversation. We have to get past the lowest common denominator. You're dumb. Like, let's stop, please.
Absolutely.
Maddie, your first question for Jason, who is live in Charleston, trying to wake up with a Red Bull with a hell of a view. Go for it.
Well, I will say before I get into the question, Atlanta United just released that they are signing 4 players to a short-term contract. We got Alan Carlton, Matt Edwards, Ashton Gordon, and Jacob Williams will be coming up, and they will be there and available for the U.S. Open Cup Charleston Battery. We saw Ashton Gordon and Matt Edwards up there playing with the team yesterday, and we also saw Alan Carlton as well as Jacob Williams as well. Looking at those 4 players coming up, and especially Aiden Torres too, him stepping up to being that homegrown deal, what are you expecting from them and the impact that they're going to make? We know what Edwards can do. We've seen him in the first team match, but what do you anticipate seeing both of them, all of them in this matchup today?
I think when you start going through the process of elimination about who's going to play and who's got minutes and who might be freshmen, I think Matthew Edwards is more than likely going to start because he didn't play much in Huntsville. You've got fullbacks who, and Brooks Lennon's played every minute in MLS. I think you'd like to give him at least the night off from the start. Caleb Wiley is looking like he's feeling the effects of playing a ton of minutes, so you'd probably like to not play him at all. You're going to have to play Edwards, I would assume. Then you start to figure out the rest, and Jacob Williams gives you cover at left back. He gives you cover at left wing as well. I think we've watched him with Atlanta United too improve the defensive side of his game a great deal as he's had to move into that left back role with Daniel Russo's injury. It served him well. It's actually served the club really well because he becomes valuable in a game like this one tonight. Alan Carlton's development has been a lot of fun to watch, and I think especially as a 10 or an attacking 8, depending on how you want to align it. Alan looked really good in Huntsville. He looked like a different kind of player, and I think it's one of those things you see with young players sometimes when they know they're either on the cusp of an opportunity or they know it's coming. And I would assume that the conversations before that game in Huntsville, guys knew they were either in consideration or they were going to go to Charleston. Allen looked like a player who was motivated by that opportunity or that decision that he's going. I thought he looked really good. He can give you minutes tonight. He's incredibly good on the ball. He's a great passer. Brennan's another one that we've talked about. I would assume that he's going to start. He didn't play on the weekend at all. And which one am I missing? Who am I missing? Oh, Ashton. Ashton played with the U17. And how many minutes did he play, John, on Saturday?
I'm trying to remember.
Did he go the 90 or did he come out at some point?
Oh, man, hang on just a second. Let me grab my roster real quick.
I didn't mean to send you running.
No. Ashton went, let's see, so 45 because Mason Peacock came in at 45.
That was by design. So Ashton will be very fresh. He can play up top and he can play on the wing. Both are possible. And I think he's a little bit more comfortable on the wing. I think the club wants to get him into the ability to play as a 9, so he can be a little more versatile. So you could use him in either spot. You're going to see a lot of Atlanta United 2 influence tonight because you're going to have to. I mean, you just look at Almada out, Yakimaki's out, what that means potentially for Saturday. You look at the back line now with Noah Cobb out. Efrain Morales probably going to play tonight. Luis Abram didn't play much in Nashville, so you would expect that he would be available from the start. Your midfield, Jay Fortune didn't play in Nashville. Is he going to be able to go in this one? Dax McCarty didn't play much. You would expect that he would be available to go. Nick Firmino played 45. Jamal TRA came into the second half. So you've got a lot of guys that are either out or limited in minutes right now. So those Atlanta United 2 players are going to be very important in supplementing this team tonight. And you've got to find some veterans around them to help with that. If that's a Ronald Hernandez, who I think is really good in these kinds of situations, if that's a Dax McCarty, if that's maybe not quite as much of a veteran, but an Edwin Mosquera as well, who did not play on the weekend. If it's guys like that, Luis Abram, who can help round the younger players and the less experienced players at this level, that'll be a big help. But the 2 guys are going to have to play, and they're going to have to come off the bench tonight too.
And this is that delicate balance because of schedule compression where you're balancing competitions and you've got to think about this matchup tonight at Patriots Point and then with LAFC, who's in the same boat you are, even though they're playing Loudoun United at home. They're a couple of hours behind you. But it's that delicate balance right now of juggling competitions and figuring out, okay, if I plug in somebody here, what about this matchup coming down the road?
Yeah, the good thing is the travel isn't going to affect you in this one, really. It's an hour-long flight. You'll have to modify a little bit of what you do. Monday was normal for everybody. It's a little bit of a quick turn playing Saturday for both teams and then playing on Tuesday. Charleston played last Wednesday, so they're going to be fresher, but they also don't really rotate. So their guys have played a lot of minutes this season. That can be good or bad, depending on kind of how they want to approach this as well. I think for the Atlanta perspective, though, unfortunately, you can't let tonight hurt you on Saturday.
Yeah.
You just can't. Not with where you are in the league table right now. There's a lot of time to play. You have a lot of games left, but every game you lose a possibility of picking up 3 points. So you've got to prioritize the regular season. That doesn't mean you don't want to advance. It means you have to count on some players that maybe you would count on different guys. If you were in a different spot in the league table, maybe if this was in a different part of the calendar, whatever. If you had opportunities to play more of your first choice in a game like this, with where you are right now, with the injuries and that hand, in other situations, maybe this is difficult. I think everybody gets bent out of shape on this kind of stuff, but how many times have we had this conversation, whether we're talking about Arsenal, whether we're talking about Real Madrid, whether we're talking about Milan in their cup competition? Mm-hmm. You have to weigh the balance of what it is for you in that calendar season. Are you healthy? Where are you in the table? When does the game come up? Does travel factor in? Do you have young players who are, itching to get more time? You have guys on your bench that are itching to get more time. How do you manage each of these cup games as they come up? And for Atlanta, you have to manage it, I think, a little bit differently right now because of the injuries and because of where you are in the league table.
Maddie for Jason, live in Charleston, getting ready for Open Cup.
Ooh, I think looking at Charleston, you had the opportunity to kind of really sit down and look at that side. How do they play, and how are you expecting them to come back and combat a style like Atlanta going into this matchup?
Yeah, my question for Charleston, I haven't had a chance to dig too deep into them, honestly, with the schedule that we're all facing. I mean, there's others of us who are on the road in these situations as well, and it's been a long couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been home a little bit, just a little bit. So I mean, look, it's hard. For Charleston, they're gonna play in a 4-3-3 kind of a shape. Um, they've got a good bit of experience. They've got guys who have either been here in Charleston a good bit or guys who have played for Ben Pierman over the years, whether it was Memphis or before a good bit. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a lot of guys with like 100+ professional games. That's something that jumped out to me when you start to look at this Charleston team. They don't have a ton of guys with MLS level experience, but you're not facing a completely MLS kind of roster either tonight. So you've got experienced players. You've got guys that are going to be in a good spot. As Dell says, they press a lot. They try to win the ball back. That's going to catch up to them at some point with playing so many guys, so many minutes. We'll see. It's still early in the season. They should be fine, and they've got that almost full week to rest for this one. The biggest thing to me is you've got belief. This Charleston team right now is just you've got a team that has not lost the season in competitive play. And when you have that, you've got belief, you've got confidence. So they're not going to come in afraid of Atlanta United at all. They're going to feel like this is an opportunity for them to pick up that cup set, even if on paper, when you look at the rosters, it might be a little more of a 50-50 game just because of how Atlanta has to approach it. You've got guys in form too. MD Myers has got 9 goals in 11 games this season in all competitions. Markanich has got a ton of goals in USL play. 2 guys up top that are both goal dangerous. That's a challenge for Atlanta. I'll be curious to see how Atlanta deals with it. If Charleston wants to come press them a little bit, now again, it's not the usual mix of Atlanta players. I think Atlanta United handles that better than teams that wanted to sit back and bunker. I think when you get to play, that suits this team. Charleston, as Dell said, and just as being at home and being confident, they're not going to sit back. They're not going to be a defensive team tonight. So there will be space. If Atlanta can deal with that pressure and pass around it, there will be space to operate in. And that's what you have to look for. The interesting element from the Atlanta side, and Gonzalo kind of talked about this a little bit when he talked about the energy and the passion that the young players, the academy developed players bring to a game like this and bring to a team like Atlanta United in a situation like this. They're going to be, I think, a little more direct at times, a little more quick to go to goal. And that might be a good thing in a game like this. Ashton Gordon, for his age, 16 years old, he scored some big goals with the Jamaican U20 team. He's a player who, you get him into the attacking third, he won't be afraid to go to goal. Luke Brennan won't be afraid to go 1v1 with guys. So it's going to be fascinating if Charleston tries to step up high and press and Atlanta can play through it. We could be setting up for a very fun back and forth kind of a match.
Ropes was wanting to know about Shande Silva and trying to see if Shande might get some time tonight.
I mean, he's limited in minutes. You want to get him back fully fit. And with Mosquera not playing on the weekend, I think you would want to rest Silva for Saturday and give Mosquera this game. And if he goes 90, he goes 90, but I think he's going to start. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I think with Silva, you just want to get him back to where he can play 90. Where he's been able to play 20, 30, and then the awkward situation in Cincinnati, for example, where neither he or Mosquera could go the rest of the way when Almada came out. You went with Silva, and I think he's shown you a little bit more. You want to see more from him. I think Shande's got it in him. You need to see more from him, but you've seen more from him than you have from Mosquera, from Wolf before he was injured. So you want to get him ready to go for Saturday. I think that has to be the priority for John.
Broadcast plans, sir, are what?
So on air at 6 o'clock tonight, Abe Gordon, Garrett Chapman will get you started with the 5-stripe countdown. 7:03 is the kick from Patriots Point. We'll have it on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app as well. And I think this is an easy one to sync up with the YouTube stream. And I know it's a little awkward to find the YouTube streams. I'm pretty sure Atlanta United has directed you directly to the stream. If you go to the Open Cup website to try to find it, it's an unlisted YouTube stream. They basically want you to sign up and give them your email and get newsletters and stuff. And you probably already are. I don't know how many newsletters I get on a regular basis at this point in my email. Very easy to slide past those when you have to. But the other site that you can get this info from is the cup.us. They will set up a playlist and they'll share the direct link. But I think the Atlanta United direct link that I shared a little while ago, I think that is direct to where you can watch the game. And then pause and sync. The Odyssey app will be your friend in that if you want to sync us up and listen to the Atlanta United call of this match tonight in Charleston.
Looking forward to it, partner. And please tell me that you're keeping your receipts and keeping track of your miles.
Of course.
Attaboy. All right. So looking forward to it as well. Enjoy the rest of your sunny morning. Apparently it's going to be in the 70s. No rain inside, according to our local meteorologist, Dell. So you should be in good shape. Looking forward to the call, my friend.
Absolutely beautiful. We'll be on the roof of the press box outside tonight, so it'll be a fun one.
All right. Be safe. We'll catch up soon.
Adios.
All right. That's Jason. And anticipating Andrew Miller coming up in short order. Once his grown-up meetings are done, we'll catch up with him and get the battery perspective of things and find out what it's been like for Andrew Miller to hang out and keep an eye on what's going on with Ben Pierman. And what I wanted to do when Andrew gets to come back and visit is I wanted to make this as much of an education as possible. And I want to work backward from last season with Ben Pierman and getting to the last match of the year and working our way into this season. So when folks can sit there and look at Charleston tonight going up against Atlanta, yes, I know we're spending a lot of time with them and doing that on purpose so we can sit there and be informed when it comes to what is being watched tonight. We might even get to find out a little bit about what he thinks about Markanich and MD Myers and a little bit of the angst, I guess, with Chris Allen and Jackson Conway being a part of the roster and possibly getting the opportunity to chase after a bit of a pound of flesh when it comes to Atlanta United. So when Andrew's grown-up meetings end, Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier down in Charleston, we will catch up with him and find out what his thoughts are, about the battery, what it's been like to see the battery move to this particular point in USL Championship, where they are the creme de la creme in the Eastern Conference, and what it's going to be for them going up in this matchup involving Atlanta United. So looking forward to catching up with him, but his meetings have to end first. It's like real grown-up stuff at the Post and Courier that Andrew has to deal with this morning. And so hopefully he won't be delayed too long, but the anticipation is that he'll be joining us sometime after 10:30. So it'll be very, very interesting to get to Andrew's perspective on what it's been like involving the Charleston Battery here in U.S. Open Cup. Another couple of pieces of news involving Major League Soccer. Some folks got waived yesterday. And one of them was Jordan Peruzza from Toronto FC. And the other was a larger name from Austin. And it was Rigoni from Austin getting waived yesterday. And it just has not worked for him and El Tree. So yesterday when that was announced, you go back and you look at the amount of money that has been spent on his purchase, and it has not been It has not been good. It has not been good for Emiliano Rigoni. He had a clause. Get this. So yesterday he's placed on waivers, signed for $4 million in 2022. Did not make his mark in Major League Soccer. 6 goals, 6 assists in 58 games. He was placed on waivers. 12 appearances was the trigger for a renewal clause for 25. He'd made 11. Might play into why everything was going on. Wow. The meetings ended early. All the grown-up stuff finished early for Andrew Miller. So we're going to welcome him in and get the Charleston Battery perspective. Andrew, I congratulate you on all the grown-up stuff being put to the side early this morning.
Well, thanks very much. Those budget meetings can be tough.
Yeah, and so we were, trust me, Maddie and I were wishing that things would go, where the eyes don't glaze over and you're just kind of going, I've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. And if we can rescue you from the mundaneness, mundanity, or whatever it is of all the grown-up stuff. What I wanted to do this morning was bring our listeners in the Southeast that are, and we do have some Charleston listeners and watchers. I wanted to bring the rest of our listenership and viewership in under the Charleston tent and have it be an education. While, yeah, I did want to get into the matchup, I did want to kind of introduce the Battery in its current form to our listeners. So let me go back to last season to start things off and the run that happened last year. What was that like for the Battery to have that kind of a run under Ben Pierman to get to the last match of the year?
I think it was unexpected. I think as the year went on, you could see the team kind of developing, getting better, gaining confidence. They had some injuries early, especially in their midfield that kind of, stifled their growth a little bit and their team chemistry. But as soon as they kind of got past that, as soon as I think it became late May, early June, you could see the beginnings of that. Hey, this team, might have a chance to make the playoffs. Now, did I think that they would make the run that they did in the playoffs and get to the championship game? If you'd have told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have thought, no way. I would have thought that them having a winning season, them being in the playoff, in the playoff picture, I thought that would have been a tremendous season. But Ben Pierman, I just don't see him coaching in this league much longer. He is obviously doing a great job here. I think teams at the Major League Soccer level are going to take notice of that. And if they're smart, they're going to snatch him up because the guy can just flat out coach. So they make the run. It seemed like every game they played, it seemed everything kind of fell into place for them. They got all the home matches. They scored goals early. They were able to dictate the pace of matches early, especially in the playoffs. And to get to the championship game was really an amazing feat for Ben Pierman and the team. It was really an incredible run.
Matty Cruz for Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier, previewing Battery in Atlanta United. Go for it.
Well, hello, Andrew. But I think my biggest thing is obviously looking at the matchup itself. How would you describe Charleston Battery's playing style, and what are some of the highlights that you think that they do well? And going against a team like Atlanta, how are they going to be able to exploit those moments and have success in this match?
Well, when you're talking about the U.S. Open Cup and you're talking about a USL side playing against an MLS team, I think the first question you have to ask you is, well, how many of Atlanta's first team players are going to play? And what is their roster and lineup going to look like tonight here at Patriots Point? And until I see the starting lineup, until I see the starting 11, I know who starters are in and who which guys are playing. It's kind of hard to predict what Atlanta is going to look like. And to me, again, I've been covering the club for about 25 years, and I've seen them beat DC United. I've seen them beat the Chicago Fire. I've seen them beat Houston Dynamo. I've seen them beat a bunch of MLS teams, but a lot of those times, those teams were half in, half out. They'd have about half their starters in, and then half the others were either reserve guys or bench players. Again, it'll be interesting to see, especially with Atlanta's schedule here. This is their fourth match. This will be the fourth match in like 13 days or something like that.
Yep.
So I cannot imagine that we're going to see a bunch of starters, but I bet there will be some starters there that will be on the bench that will come in, in that 60th, 70th, 75th minute. And they could make all the difference in the world. I mean, when they played DC United in 2008, the Battery had control of that match. And then the DC United put a couple of starters in. Fred, I remember being one of them. And obviously he ended up scoring the game-winning goal. And so when you have dynamic players like that on the bench, it makes a huge difference. So with that being said, what the Battery has done well, at least so far this year, is obviously they've scored a ton of goals. And, Nick Markanich and MD Myers, they're your two weapons there. Malloy, the Irish midfielder, is a huge pickup for them. He kind of distributes the ball. Reminds me that Jamie Tart and the Ted Lasso play through me, not through me, but through me, that kind of thing. But, so they are an attacking team. Obviously, the weather's not going to be as big a factor. It's not going to be that hot here. And Atlanta, again, is a southern team, so they're probably used to the heat, humidity, even if it gets particularly warm here tonight. So, but the Battery is going to attack. They're not going to sit back. They're not going to play in a shell. That's what I think. I don't know what Ben will do, but they're not the kind of team that's going to sit back and play for a tie. They're a team that's going to attack you and take advantage. They're going to control the ball. That's something they've really improved on from last year. This year, their time of possession is up from last year. And that's, I think, goes around to what they do in the midfield. They're much improved in the midfield.
As introduced by our Charleston watcher listener, Dell, he says Malloy, Allen, and Ikaza solid in the midfield.
They are fantastic. And those guys kind of dictate the pace. And again, if you can't see, I'm a hockey fan. It's like the Battery mucks up the neutral zone. That's what they do with their.
They play a little left wing lock. Is Jacques Lemaire the head coach there?
They muck it up in the midfield and they make it hard for the other team to kind of advance the ball. And that's what you want a good midfield to do. And that's what they do. Those guys are really solid.
So is Lou Lamoriello the general manager for Jacques Lemaire? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah. It's funny because Rob Salvatore, one of the principal owners, he is a big hockey fan. So, maybe he takes some of his cues from that.
I was going to say, have you broken that news to him about this whole, clogging up the middle third and sitting there and it's like, all right, try to get it over the blue line kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, he's a huge Rob Salvatore, the owner, the principal owner here for the Battery. He's a huge New York Rangers fan. I'm obviously a Chicago Blackhawks fan. If you can't see the banner behind me, and we like to chirp each other quite a bit when we get out there on the practice field sometimes together.
Absolutely nothing wrong with chirping. That's the best. That's the best part of it, especially now that we're down to the Final Four. But that's hockey down here. That's 2:30 in the morning on Wednesdays when we do that. Right. For those that have not had the chance to see/meet Ben Pierman, how would you describe him as a coach, both philosophically and personality-wise?
He's a coach that makes his players accountable, but he doesn't do it in a demeaning way, if that makes sense to anybody out there. He demands, like, I hate to use some of these euphemisms and some of these sports jargon cliches, but like what Dabo Sweetie says up in Clemson, our standard is the standard. And that's kind of how Ben Pierman is. He wants to play a up tempo. That's the way I would describe it. Aggressive style, both when he has the ball and when he doesn't have the ball. When he doesn't have the ball, he wants to possess it again. He wants to make the other team, dispossess the ball, and he wants to put pressure on them. And I think with he actually has a smaller roster this year than he did last year. So he might not have the overall quantity of depth, but I think he has the quality of depth on the bench that he can do that. Because as you know, it gets incredibly hot here in the summers. And I don't care if you're playing at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, it can get pretty steamy here. And if you don't have that kind of depth and you don't have the guys that can run like that, then it's going to be an issue. So I think, again, holds his players accountable, likes to play an aggressive style. He's great to work with. I mean, he's to the point. no nonsense as far as that goes. And it's funny because I go back to, I've been in the business for 35 years covering just about every sport you can think of. And all the good coaches kind of say the same things. They might use the jargon for their sport might be a little different, but it's kind of all the same thing. And like I said, I've covered Jared Bednar, who won a Stanley Cup at Colorado, was a coach here for the local minor league team. Him and Ben, they sound almost similar. Spencer Carberry, again, I'm sorry using hockey analogies, but up with the Washington Capitals, they say a lot of the same things, and those coaches are super successful. So, yeah, that's how I describe it.
Anytime you can drop a South Carolina Stingrays reference into a show, you know that we're going to take it. We're a bunch of puckheads here. That's
fair.
That's different. Maddie Cruz, continuing our conversation with Andrew Miller of the Post and Courier.
So looking at the, I think, head-to-head matchup between these sides, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't really know that these teams have played each other before. If anything, it's been 3 years in a row. Since 2017, 2019, it was like back-to-back in the Open Cup. Atlanta has come out on top on all three of those matchups. Looking back at those matchups and then going into today, what do you think is going to be the difference for Charleston Battery from the teams that played in those years and then looking at this year now?
Well, one thing I think is that they're finally getting to play them at home. I believe all those other games were at Kennesaw State, if I'm not mistaken. I know at least two of them were.
Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez, brother. That's how it's been.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is that first they get the match at home, which I think gives them a little bit of not an advantage, but certainly you wake up in your own bed, you play in your own field, you're playing in front of your own fans. That's going to help you. It's not going to hurt you. So I think that is number one. I think this particular Charleston Battery team is more equipped to beat a team like Atlanta because they can score. And that has been not the knock on those other Battery teams, but they were getting their offensive production from maybe one or two guys. And with this team, you see obviously those two guys up front, Meyer and Markanich. They've been outstanding, but they've got other guys that play in the midfield that are also dangerous as well. I think it stinks that Fidel Barreras isn't still on this team because you add him to that midfield and they'd be deadly. Because it was funny, the first time I saw him play as a 16-year-old, he didn't stand out. And people were like, "Oh, that's a slight." No, it's not a slight. It's like he's 16 years old, and I can't tell who the 16-year-old is. And that just showed me how good that guy was. And obviously off to a pretty good start here in his MLS career. But I think this team is better equipped, certainly offensively. And then I think on their back four has advanced, and they've gotten better and better as the season has gone on. And I think they're maybe equipped to handle the attacking players from Atlanta a little bit better than maybe previous teams did.
Well, and I think that to your point with this left wing lock and clogging everything between the blue lines, possibility of going over the top and having the speed of Atlanta United going past that back line to create opportunities. I'm thinking that might be the X's and O's that we're staring at here, where if you're clogging that middle, go over the top, go get it, and then see if that running for a full 90 minutes can be kept up by the Battery. True?
Yeah, for sure. And then again, I think that's where maybe communication between the midfield and the defenders, and obviously the keeper, is going to be crucial for the Battery in those instances. But there is a reason that Atlanta is in the MLS. They have the talent. They should be able to, just on talent alone, win this game. But I have seen too many Battery matches and too many U.S. Open Cups to not think that they don't have a shot here tonight at winning. And like I said, if Atlanta doesn't put their best foot forward, they're going to be back on their back heel pretty much the entire match. Because I expect the Battery to start their 11 guys. I think Rob Salvatore, the owner, is serious. He wants to advance. First, he wants to beat Atlanta for the first time, obviously, in the U.S. Open Cup. And I think that he understands the significance of this kind of match. And I anticipate them using most of anybody who's available who can play. I think they're going to play tonight.
Andrew Miller, Post and Courier, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes, kind of breaking down the Charleston Battery perspective of things as they get ready for Atlanta United in U.S. Open Cup. Question from Del Schaefer down there in Charleston for you. So basically, Del in Charleston puts a question in the Twitch pitch to ask you there back in Charleston. What do you think Lee Cohen brings to the team?
I tell you what, Lee has done a tremendous job as a general manager bringing this team together. I mean, he's the guy, the puppet master behind it, who's pulling all the strings, who is identifying and collecting and signing talent. And again, I know Fidel Barreras was before his tenure here, but he's been able to bring in guys that have made an immediate impact. So I think he and Ben have worked very closely together on identifying talent, and they've done a great job of developing that talent. No question about it. I can't think in the last year and a half of kind of a bad signing that he has made. So I think Lee has done a tremendous job here, and I'm not just pumping his tires because I like him. I think he does a really good job. And a lot of times coaches and general managers, don't get along, or at this level, a lot of times the coach is the general manager. But I think in this case, having Lee as your general manager is a good idea. I mean, what is he, the president? But I would call him a general manager. I think that's what he is, and would be in most other positions. So, yeah.
What has the transition been like from MUSC Health to Patriots Point?
Well, the facility I refer to as Blackbaud Stadium. That's what it'll always be to me, because like I said, I went over there for I don't know how many games in my journalism career. So that place was special. I mean, I remember when Bolton came over, the guys from Bolton came over and EPL team to play an exhibition game in July. And I can't remember what year that was, but the Bolton players would go up to the Three Lions pub or club, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if you guys have ever been there or went there when they were there.
Yep.
But the memorabilia collection that was up there, the bar, just everything about that place was just on another level. And that's not to say that Patriots Point doesn't have its good points and doesn't have its charm. And Rob, I think, is going to do. He eventually wants to enclose the stadium and kind of make it a little bit more of a standalone facility. And I think we're a couple of years away from doing that. But Rob has just done a tremendous job as an owner. He's taken up the Tony Baca mantle, because Tony was the one that started the Charleston Battery and kind of built that club up to where it was recognizable, not only in the United States, but obviously across the globe. And but Blackbaud Stadium's that place was special. It was unique. It was great. I was getting back to Bolton players, and the Bolton players and their manager would just go around and they would look at all the memorabilia stuff and everything. And they just talked and raved about how great it was. Sunderland came there and played there as well. West Bromwich played there as well. So I mean, that place was unique. The U.S. women's team, Mia Hamm played there. So I mean, it's got a lot of history there, and now, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. I mean, if you live out there, I'm sure it's great. But now it's kind of a community development place. So yeah, that's that. But that's the way Charleston's come. I mean, I moved here in 1989, and it was kind of a sleepy little town, and now it's the secret's out.
Yep, and somewhere in the Three Lions, there existed a Soccer Down Here scarf, because we were there for the CCC, the Carolina Challenge Cup.
Yep.
And we broadcast the first ever match that Atlanta United had, where there were issues between Brian Schmetzer and Tata Martino at the end of the matchup that was there for Seattle and the CCC. So, yeah, somewhere in there was an Atlanta Chiefs pennant from the NASL. And somewhere in there was a Soccer Down Here scarf that we left behind from doing that first broadcast. So I know of what you speak, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say Andrew Carlton played for the Battery there for pretty much a whole season one time, and the other kid from Germany whose name escapes me was also there was an affiliation back in the day, or a loose affiliation is what I would call it. But it's there was only one Blackbaud Stadium Three Lions pub. It was unique, and that's what I thought made it so great.
No doubt about it. So we are looking forward to it tonight. I know that it is a 7:03 kick, I believe, there at Patriots Point, one of the great vistas that you have in USL Championship here,
no doubt.
Southeast. May you make deadlines, sir. May everything stick to the cards and the tape. May you file, and may everything be there on time for you. Thanks for hanging out here this morning on Soccer's Morning Show, breaking down Open Cup for us. It's great to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. All
right, that's Andrew Miller. Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier. He's going to be busy tonight. He's going to be writing his you-know-what off from the Charleston perspective. And I was glad that we were able to get him after his meeting. First and foremost, I'm glad that his budget meeting didn't go for 2 hours, because he said it was going to start at 9 and end about 10:30. And I'm like, just come in whenever you're done. That'd be great. And so they ended early. We rescued him from the budget meeting, and now he's hanging out. He was hanging out with us to get the Charleston Battery perspective as the Battery host Atlanta United tonight on Open Cup broadcast plans. It is 6:00 on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app with Abe and Garrett, and they will break things down. They'll have a little bit of Mike and Jason, and Mike and Jason will take over play-by-play at 7:00, 7:03 kick, and then after that, it's going to be the full-time report with the result in the round of 16, 5 matches tonight in the Open Cup. And Atlanta United is one of those 5 taking on Charleston Battery. And so, Maddie, now that we've gotten the Charleston Battery perspective of things, first choice lineup because they hadn't played since Wednesday. So basically they got 6 days to think about it and stare at Atlanta United. But it will be a challenge for them because, as Andrew says, Andrew doesn't know really what the lineup's going to look like. What's the first choice? How many first teamers are there? How many of the second teamers are going to be there? And getting the breakdown of clogging the middle and going long. I think that legitimately tonight, the more that I think about it, this might be Luke Brennan's season down the right-hand side.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would be shocked if Luke Brennan didn't get the start tonight. I mean, but I think going back to it too, obviously you're going to have the first team, like whoever will be in that lineup, that's going to be huge. But I don't want to discount the players that are coming up because those players are hungry and they bring the energy, they bring the passion. They're going to come in to fight. And I think that's going to be an issue for Charleston. Because I think it's also, too, it's like when you have a player step up like Alan Carlton, like Jacob Williams, like Ashton Gordon, you don't really get to see them play often. And so you don't know how they're going to play. And so coming against a team like Charleston, it's going to be difficult to really scout that a little bit and figure that out. So I'm interested to see how that's going to roll. But I think with Charleston, you just got to watch out for it. Charleston's hungry. They want to win. They have not won in this matchup 3 times. They want a win. They are searching for a win, and it's at their home stadium. I mean, the fans are going to be hyped up. United's got to get on the front foot fast if they want to secure the lead and get out of this match and go to the quarterfinals. That's going to be huge for them. But I think Charleston Battery, they're going to come in with a little edge, and I'm excited to see this matchup because it's not. I don't want to say it's a rivalry. It almost feels like a rivalry.
Yeah, because Charleston was here first, and they are going to be the ones to sit there and go, bruh. Guess what? We were here first. We've been here longer, and it will be very, very. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch on both sides, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think, listen, hashtag magic of the Open Cup. I just love it so much. It is so fun. I'm excited to watch this matchup. I'm excited to watch the other matchups that are happening tonight. Oh, I was looking at them this morning, and one was like really stuck out to me. New York City FC 2 and New Mexico United, especially with what happened in that previous matchup for NYCFC 2. I think.
Oh yeah, on top of the parking deck at St. John's, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. I think that one's going to be interesting. You got Sporting Kansas City against FC Tulsa. I think that one's going to be fun. LAFC, that matchup. I mean, listen, I think all these matchups are going to be really interesting to watch. Which I didn't even think about it this way. Almost every MLS side is going up, and then you have 2 sides that are just one. Just one side is the second team of the MLS Next Pro. But I mean, you almost have most of your MLS clubs playing in tonight, and that's going to be interesting. I'm I'm excited. I just love the Open Cup. It's so fun. It's my favorite. It's my favorite competition. It's so fun to watch.
Yep.
Besides the Euros, I love watching the Euros.
Yeah, and so once again tonight, Charleston hosting Atlanta United, NYCFC 2, New Mexico United. So that's Next Pro versus USL Championship. Sporting and FC Tulsa, it's MLS USL Championship. Sacramento San Jose, USL Championship hosting MLS. LAFC in Loudoun, MLS hosting USL Championship. Tomorrow, it's the two USL Championship sides going at it, and then you have the matchups with Tampa hosting FC Dallas. So that's, once again, your matchup involving a USL Championship side hosting an MLS side who is not having a good run of form, and Seattle hosting Phoenix at Starfire in a very intimate environment. So Seattle right now is a big favorite hosting Phoenix as Phoenix makes the trip up to Starfire and Tukwila, Washington. News and notes and odds and ends to get us through the end of things. It appears that there is a mention that possibly, probably, perhaps, maybe, as Jesse Marsch is filling out his staff in Canada for the Canadian men's national team, it appears, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps, something to think about, that Michael Bradley might be an assistant for Jesse Marsch north of the border for the Canadian men's national team. Captain America might be going north of the border to help out Jesse Marsch.
I saw this this morning, and I was like, what? I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. I mean, Michael Bradley, watching him for the U.S., that was a lot of fun. Obviously, when he played in MLS, he was a pain in the you-know-what to play all the time.
Yep.
MLS Michael Bradley, I was not a fan of. He was very annoying, but I think this is it's an interesting matchup. It's interesting for sure. You're bringing in Jesse Marsch, former USA, and then you're bringing in Michael Bradley, another former USA, to go up again for the Canada side.
But with ties to Toronto FC.
To Toronto FC, so it makes sense. But it's so interesting. I'm excited though. If it's true, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm. You've also got another couple of pieces of news and notes. Marco Reus might be leaving Germany, and there is interest in Marco to come to Major League Soccer. And we still haven't even discussed the salary figures that were released by the MLSPA because of all the other breaking news that's been going on. We still haven't had the chance to break that stuff down. While it's great to get this kind of transparency about the whole, still need the information about the cap and where it fits and what you need and all these kinds of things because, and we'll get into this coming up in just a little bit, Inter Miami and Messi and friends have another piece of business that they probably need to do, and they'll probably find a way to fit it in under the cap, whatever cap space they have. Marco Reus linked to Major League Soccer. Marco Reus linked to LAG and St. Louis. Obviously, St. Louis with the large German community that is there. LAG, obviously, for it being Lipstick City and everything. But there's a problem. There's a team that has his discovery rights that is neither all caps SC nor the LA Galaxy. Charlotte has his discovery rights, which are kind of silly. It's just basically it's dibs in soccer, basically, is what it is. And, literally you could sit there and go, well, I've got discovery rights on, Luka Modric. Sure. Okay, great, fine. But basically, discovery rights are dibs. Dibs on Luka Modric. Dibs on Marco Reus. I've got dibs. That's what you've got here. And so Charlotte has dibs on Marco Reus. But Marco Reus is interested in not playing in Charlotte. So what dibs means in Major League Soccer is basically, well, what's it worth to you? If you LAG, all caps, are interested in Marco Reus, what's it worth to you? Well, what's it worth to you? Well, we'd like to have him here in Charlotte. We lost Enzo Capetti. Or we sent Enzo Capetti away. We didn't lose him. We sent Enzo Capetti away. We'd like to have Marco Royce here. Marco Royce is looking at Charlotte and going, bruh. Seriously? Bruh. Charlotte? Nah. Marco Royce wants to go other places. But Charlotte, because they have dibs, can sit there and go, well, what's it worth to you? And it will be, it would not surprise me if Marco Royce dipped into his own bank account and basically said, look, let me go. What's it worth to you? Here. How about I hand you like $10? Michael, and so that's
sliding it under the table. Like, here you go.
that's what we're staring at here with Marco Royce. Marco Royce wants to go any place else but Charlotte. They want to go any place else but Charlotte. So MLS 101, and this is Michael asking, and this is basically what we all need to do. Michael wants to know how discovery rights are claimed and or determined. So what do? I click on the Charlotte website to get my answer. What is a discovery player? I feel like I need music under this of some description. Let me see if I can come up with some kind of appropriate music for the reader here. Let's see. How about, let me see here. So we're going to play music and see which one fits. I don't know if that fit. No. A little dance vibe for discovery rights. You gotta help me out here, man. You come up with the right music. This might work. Okay, this might work. Okay, here we go. Little dance music, kind of have underneath the description when it comes to discovery rights. Donnie Simpson, video zone. Okay, so here we go. How are discovery lists and discovery players? MLS 101. What is a discovery player? Actually, let me fix this because this might take a while. So I got to fix the music so it doesn't die. All right. Clubs may sign or scout players who are not yet under contract with MLS and who are not subject to another assignment mechanism, such as the MLS Super Draft or the allocation process. These players are known as discovery players. Header, boldface. What is a discovery list? To obtain the rights to a discovery player, a club must first place the player on its discovery list. This, in practice, means filing a claim to the player with the league office. A club can have up to 7 players on its discovery list, and they can be added or removed at any time. There is no limit to the number of players a club can sign from its respective discovery list. Boldface header, topic 2, paragraph. Which kinds of players can be on the discovery list? Foreign players in foreign leagues are typically candidates for the discovery list. Additionally, U.S. players abroad who've never played in MLS will also be discovery players. International free agents or upcoming international free agents can be discovery players too. A young talent playing collegiate soccer in the U.S., however, would be recruited to the league via the MLS Super Draft instead. The allocation process, meanwhile, would be used to recruit U.S. men's national team players, select youth national team players, and or certain former MLS players returning to the league. Other players who may not be added to the discovery list include current MLS players and players for whom another club has a right of first refusal. Charlotte did have a discovery list, but according to the article from the Charlotte Football Club, boldface type, question, does Charlotte FC have a discovery list? Answer, yes, it does. Every MLS team is entitled to have a discovery list, but they are generally not made public. Back in 2021, quoting then Charlotte FC Director of Scouting, Thomas Schalling, quote, we make sure that our discovery list contains our top 7 targets at all times. It's something that we need to be on top of, as having first priority with a player provides us with the opportunity to negotiate with him and his agent. Boldface type question. How important is the discovery list for Charlotte FC? The discovery list is crucial. Answer. In the planning and construction of the inaugural roster, and it's imperative to utilize the 7 available spots effectively. An established MLS team with fewer spots to fill on its roster may find it easier to keep the bulk of its targets on the discovery list. Boldface question. Why does the league have discovery rights? Answer. Essentially, discovery rights help encourage parity in the league by giving smaller market teams a formal opportunity to lay a claim on desirable players. It also helps to prevent rival teams bidding against each other for a player, which can in turn keep salaries from being inflated. That's from Ryan Bailey from the Charlotte Football Club, dated November 9th, 2021. I hope that helped. That is about discovery players and the discovery list. Seriously, you got to be kidding me with this. It's dibs. It is basically dibs. And Dell, I think that Inter Messi did in fact have the discovery rights. No, the list is not public. No, the list is not public. We have to kind of fish for the information, and it is need to know, but apparently we are not in the need to know. What was it they say? Need to know basis, you don't need to know? Kind of like with other things involving Major League Soccer. Cap, etc., cap space, availability. And the reason I brought up cap space, and yes, Derek, I'd love to be able to get rid of the process. Derek, appropriate laughter. LOL, cap space in Miami. And the reason that I brought that up was Nicola Frere, if I could spell Frere. There we go. Nicola Frere. He is done for the year. Suffered an injury to his right ACL in the second half of Saturday's win over DC United. Injury update. Undergo a surgery, expected to miss the remainder of the season. That is from Messi and Friends Communication Department. So, for what seems like the 38,000th time this year, a player for the Herons is injured, out for the year, which means that they will chase after yet another player in the international theater, unless they have confidence for someone playing at the level of MLS Next Pro, and they will bring that individual in. Once again, because we don't know all of the rules of engagement, we don't know how this affects their cap and their cap space, as Derek did get the laughter in. So, Nicola Frere, out. Redondo, out. Others, out. But sure, you could probably put them on long-term injury. It won't count against your cap, and you can take somebody that would fit the Nicola Frere salary space, prorated for the remainder of the season, and that would end up being your base of information. So, Nicola Frere. Okay, so base salary of $400,000, and the total compensation guaranteed $1 million. So basically, base salary prorated would be my guess. If you put Frere on long-term injury, slide him over, long-term injury list, then you probably get that prorated space back, and you are probably, like I said, this sentence has so many effing probablys in it, and that's what drives me crazy. We knew that when DeAndre Yedlin was sent to Cincinnati, it was one of the weirdest GAM figures ever in the history of GAM. That was what you figured they were up against when it came to their salary figures and what they had to negotiate with, and a whole lot. But sure, player gets injured, bring somebody in. Player gets injured, bring somebody in. My guess is that with Frere, you take his, what's 2/3 of 400,000? What? 2/3 of 400,000, like 300,000. Well, that's like 267. So if you take like $267,000 base salary, hey, who can we get for 267 and still have it fit under the cap? and then have their guaranteed compensation be another figure entirely. But who can you get on the market coming up in the window in less than a month? If you want to sit there and navigate with Messi and friends too, and players from the MLS Next Pro side, bring them in, have them fill that space for 3 weeks because there's an international window that's a part of it. So you really only have 2 weeks of matchups. Then you can bring in somebody in that window, in addition to whatever else you want to bring in that window, probably at a base salary of $267,000, which is far more than the league veteran minimum. League veteran minimum is $89,716. So that's what you're staring at. Nicola Frere gone for the season. What does Messi and friends do from here going forward? I think we know the answer. Abby's going to the Messi and friends matchup next week, or she's going to, so you're going to the matchup next week. Friend has club seats, drinking and eating heavily, as you should. Trying to talk your friend into just wearing an Argentina jersey and not the Herons pink. Wearing the Atlanta United jersey. There you go, Abby. Nicely done. And may have Almada put on the back of, see? There you go. Wear your Argentina jersey and have Almada's name put on the back, or just wear your Almada Atlanta United or something Atlanta United. That would be epic. I want pictures.
Absolutely. That's what you have to do.
Absolutely. What to watch, where to watch it outside of what we were discussing today. Before we go, I don't want everything in caps. It's like I'm mashing everything. It feels, when you sit there and caps lock is on your laptop, and you're sitting there going, why is caps lock on? And then you look at the letters that you're typing in the URL line, you think it's like you're being that much more authoritative because everything is done in caps.
Or like you're screaming and you're
Yes. Oh, that's true. I remember the Abster 65 on the back. Yeah, so I'm screaming by typing in all caps. Today, Being in Espanol has the Salvadoran Primera on. Alianza, our friends from Alianza, taking on FAS at 10 o'clock tonight. And remember, you can get all the BNs, Liga 1 Max, CDO for the fans, Nuestra Tele, Gold TV, all of that stuff at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That is, you can get the subscription to Fanatis and become a true degenerate like the rest of us. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. FS2 has your quarterfinals in the Canadian Championship. Toronto against Saint Laurent. This is the second legs at 7. Vancouver and Cavalry at 10:30. Paramount Plus has Copa de la Liga out of Argentina. Vélez Sarsfield, Newell's Old Boys at 7 o'clock. And then you also have the 5 matches in Open Cup. Start at ussoccer.com. You can go to the Twitters and go to the cup.us, and he'll give you all of the information that you need when it comes to watching matches. All right, last thoughts, Maddie, before we get out of here about everything we talked about this morning. And welcome back, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
What else is on your mind before we go?
Let's go Atlanta. Let's make it to the quarterfinals. I'm excited for a good matchup tonight. It's going to be fun. And yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, so that's it. So now that's it, since it's the end of the show, you get to send us home.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:05 a.m. And it's the end of the show, which means John gets to do this.
Correct. Back at it in a little under 22 hours. We'll talk about Open Cup. Tomorrow should be Tyler Pilgrim, 9:15. Maybe Dylan Butler, the busiest man in the Northeast, and all of us talking about what happened in Charleston tonight. Thanks to Andrew Miller, the Post and Courier, for dropping by. Thanks to Jason for showing us great vistas. And thanks to you for hanging out as always. See you later.